What would you say are the top discriminated against breeds? Give me 4.
Rottweilers.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Ding, 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 ding.
Pit bulls.
Mm-hmm. Of course.
Maybe King Corsos.
Okay. Maybe.
Besides Dobermans, or
besides Dobermans.
Besides Dobermans. Maybe German Shepherds.
Oh, that's good. Yep. That's another one.
That was 4.
And it's one more.
One more.
Yeah.
Let me think. It's probably real obvious too, and I'm just not thinking of it.
It's not really obvious. I looked it up and I was surprised.
Collies.
No, not collies.
Okay.
Chows.
Chows. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can see that. Chows are. I don't look.
You're afraid of them?
My homeboy had a chow, man. Like it was. I can't even remember what the dog name was. It was all black. And his mama used to keep it on the front porch, and I'd be like, man, like they had like a porch where it was inside. So you had a door, then you walk in, and then you had to go to the main door. You know what I'm saying? And that was their porch, and it was enclosed with the house.
Yeah.
Sometimes that dog was on the porch, sometimes he wasn't. Sometimes he was tied up on the porch, sometimes he was loose. It was like you had to really keep your eye, like, man.
They're like little lions or something. Yeah,
I had to look in
they
there.
are intimidating.
I look in because he just walk up to you and you just don't know what they're thinking. You can't see their eyes. Mm-hmm. He was black. He had black eyes. It was very intimidating. I'd tell Dre, man, put that dog up. I was just like, I'm not messing with this dog, man. But chows are aggressive. Chows are aggressive. But think about it is too, though, also, as people don't understand, is like these discriminated against, misunderstood dogs is this. And as people who are thinking about buying, a pet, dogs especially, you have to make sure that they have enough room to exercise. They have enough room to, maneuver around the house. They have their own spot. You're spending enough time with them. They're getting fed on a regular basis. There's a very solid routine in the house that they respect and you respect, and you learn how to respect each other. I say that because, I've never seen, and I was a victim of this too. I had a pit bull when I was in 2002, 2003, something like that. Mm-hmm. And I had a pit bull for like 2 years and had no business owning a pit bull, but just got one because I had the opportunity to get one. And I was in a 2-bedroom apartment, didn't have enough room for it to maneuver around and stuff like that. And he became very aggressive. Dog aggressive specifically, it's just because I didn't have enough time to really exercise with him, to work with him, feed with him, regular basis, stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And situation happened last week with a friend of ours who was walking their Labradoodle, which are a weird dog. Mm-hmm. I'm just middle of the fence on them dogs.
Oh, goodness.
Anyway, it's a weird looking dog. And was walking her Labradoodle, and this pit bull that was in the building across from her jumped off the balcony and attacked her dog.
Yeah.
Ripped him up.
Yeah.
And the Labradoodle didn't even fight back. And so she's out there trying to rip this pit bull off of this Labradoodle. And amongst that, they had to go to the emergency vet. The owner of the pit bull was cool, paid for the emergency vet bills, but talking about stitches, antibiotics on the dog. And then our friend, she got her hand kind of got, busted up. So she had to go to the doctor too.
It was a mess.
It
It's
was a
very,
mess.
very sad and very terrible.
But my point is, we used to live in that same complex, right? And we had Kizzy, which was a little bit more of a docile dog.
She was very docile.
You didn't need as much exercise. But when you have a pit bull, Dobermans, Rottweilers, any type of breed like that, you better make sure that you have a regular schedule for them to get enough exercise, get outside and walk them on a regular basis, feed them on a regular basis, make sure that they're socialized as much as possible, or else you're going to have a problem like this. And he ended up, I think the owner ended up
putting him to sleep.
I don't know if they put him to sleep or he just gave him up to a family member or something. I'm not sure what happened, but he don't have the dog no more. He gave him up.
Wow.
He gave him up. And, it's unfortunate because it's like, it's not even, I don't even think it's the dog's fault. It's the owner's fault. Because the dog didn't have enough exercise, obviously. And
I think just like some people can be mean and terrible and aggressive, if you put any person in a less than ideal environment where there's a lack of stimulus, where there is a lack of love and affection, where there's a lack of control, so on and so forth, that person is more likely to be an angry and aggressive person. The difference is they don't have the capabilities of an animal who is in and of itself a weapon. So that's the big difference. So really, I agree that it is the family. It is the way that you raise the dog. It is the way that you interact with them and the opportunities you give them to become emotionally healthy, just like human beings need certain things to be emotionally healthy. But I'm looking at this article right now as you were talking. I was looking it up. And according to Forbes Advisor, they say that the breed that commits the most attacks overall is pit bulls. They say 22.5% of bites across all studies. And it's interesting. Oh, and then next are mixed breeds were a close second at 21.2%. And then third is German Shepherds, the third most dangerous breed, involved in 17.8% of bite incidents. And this is according to Forbes Advisor. What's interesting is that there has been a campaign for the pit bull. Pit bulls they were given a really bad rap, and it sounds like it kind of parallels with what is actually happening, and statistically. However, I would say over the last, 5 years, people have become a lot more accepting of the pit bull because there have been folks essentially lobbying for that breed, and it's just it's not looked down on like it used to be, which is good. And you have more people who own pit bulls and, treat them like family dogs and have had success. Unlike Dobermans, there's no lobbying for Dobermans. We're probably the first people really talking about this.
Right.
Now, we're not first in the world, but it's just rare. And because there's nothing to mitigate that misconception, there is a fear that is attached to them that is just automatic.
Yeah.
Even with dog lovers alike, people don't understand the breed.
Yeah, I mean, it's pit bulls are very, very strong. First of all, they're very determined. A lot of things. People that say the same thing about Dobermans, very strong and very determined. And no disrespect to what I'm about to say, but just to put a timeline to it, there's a pre Mike Vick and there's a post Mike Vick era where people started changing their relationship with their dogs. Down south, it's common to have, what they call them, cockfights and dog fights.
Yeah.
It was very common. Very common. There was nothing unusual about it, nothing inhumane about it back before, Mike Vick got caught up.
A lot of people didn't see it as that.
And I'm sure it still happens to this day. you know, but I'm sure it's also slowed down quite a bit, you know, because of
the press associated with it, just the coverage of that, just the exposure of what that looks like and what it is. I remember we used to watch dog shows all the time, and one was like Pet ER or something, and or Pet Rescue, something like that. And when they would get those dogs that were fighting, had been used as fighting dogs, it was so terrible that I couldn't even watch it. I would have to turn the channel. It's just horrible, the type of things that they would do to those animals to make them aggressive and make them fight, or when they lost, the things that they would do. There was this one time, remember that story you told me about when we were living in Chicago? You were driving down, what was it, the Bishop Ford?
Dan Ryan.
You were driving down to Dan Ryan, and someone threw a pit bull out the car window, and probably because it lost a fight or it wasn't a good fighting dog or something like that, it just threw the dog out the window to kill it. Just seeing them just as tools or weapons and just having no connection with them whatsoever. So
I've seen people, I mean, back when, like, early 2000s, late 90s, people literally getting dressed up to go to dog fights. Like, you know, this is back when the cufflink era, where everybody had the cufflinks on their button ups and stuff like that, and they were really big, and they had the cufflinks on. And people getting their fresh cufflinks and, you know what I'm saying, button ups and ironing their clothes and getting their money ready, and had, you know what I'm saying, rubber man in their pockets, you know what I'm saying, and going to a dog fight. Like, this was, you know, that's the way you went. And
have you ever been to a dog fight?
No, I have not. I've always been a dog lover. I never believed in dog fights. It just makes me sick to even think like that.
Same.
And what was it? We was watching. I've seen The Wire before. You haven't. This is your first time watching it. You're about 12 years behind, but better late than never. And so we're rewatching it, and I think it was season 2 or season 3 when Method Man was at that dog fight. And he had a dog that died, and he took it in the back of the...
It lost. It didn't die. It lost.
Well, it lost, yeah. But then he took it in and put a bullet in his head. And it's just...
horrible.
It's horrible. It really is. So they used to almost, I would say, glorify it. There was a stigma that, you know, as black folks, we didn't care about our dog. We had a dog, but it wasn't considered as part of the family.
Right.
You know, you was kind of a sucker if you know, took care of your dog. The dog ate whatever, you know, and
and we touched on that in one of our episodes. And
that's why I'm saying pre and post Mike Vick, it just changed. You know, now we have a friend of ours with Beanie who has a whole Instagram page on her dog.
Oh, a lot of people have pages
and people like that,
dogs.
you know, and it's changed a lot, and I'm glad to see it, you know. And it's unfortunate what had to go down to make people change their minds, but, you know, change their way of thinking, you know. But for real, it's just like, it's no joke.
There needed to be, we needed to evolve. Because in my opinion, that type of attitude is primal. It's just almost like prehistoric it's a living being. I remember there was a time when, and this isn't about dogs, but I grew up with birds. My father had birds as pets. Loved them. And now that I'm older, I would never own a bird. To take a bird and to put it in a cage, a bird that belongs in the sky, and the whole sky belongs to them. I don't care if their cage is as big as your house.
Right.
That's not enough. That's nothing compared to the whole world or the country or whatever. But yeah, I just think that just collectively we just have matured and come to understand animals as important living spiritual beings, and we've gotten a lot better.
Yeah,
a lot better.
It's gotten a lot better. And you know, I saw a video today of some guy that was this he was, I don't know where he was at, honestly, but wherever pumas live. And this puma was trying to get at him. I mean, this puma was trying to get him a dinner, you know, and guy had a pistol, you know, but at least he fired the gun over his head.
To try to make it run away.
And he did. He finally made him run away.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I just can't stand animal poachers, and I just can't. Besides, like, look, honestly, even moths. You know, if I find a moth in the house, I will try to catch it and throw it out. Look,
they're alive.
Bees, mosquitoes, and roaches.
Look, we can't kill bees anymore because the bees are almost extinct because of people like you.
And I hear you on that, but specifically wasps. Okay, let me be specific. Maybe they're all the same to me, but if I get stung by a wasp, yeah, like he's getting it. You know what I mean?
Right.
If I can, which most times I can't. But anyway, roaches,
flies. I cannot with flies.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't.
But other than that, I don't know. I just don't. I think that's just a bad. You know, it's just.
It feels like bad karma.
Karma, yeah.
Yeah, it feels like bad karma to me. And I know there are some that will argue, well, do you eat meat? And as meat eaters, we are meat eaters.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think about it. And there have been times when I have stopped eating meat because I would see like a video of a cow that reminds me of one of our dogs so much. And I'm like, this is like a dog. It has feelings. It has emotions. I could see myself eventually getting to the point where I ate maybe a vegetarian diet. I don't know that I would ever be vegan, but yeah, it's I don't know, just my relationship with nature and animals are a part of nature has changed, and I feel like as I'm maturing, it's getting just a lot better.
Yeah.
Just more elevated. Even that's a better way of saying it.
And just like just overall having, like you said, having pets, having these knuckleheads running around here. You know, you start looking at stuff a little bit different. Like
it increases your awareness,
right,
of how they're feeling and how they feel. I remember before Kizzy, we had to put her to sleep. It was her last days, and she was dying. She was skinny, like just skin and bone. She had stopped eating. She was panting. The cancer had gotten into her lungs, and it was such a sad time. And I swear she knew that her time was coming.
Yeah, she knew.
And Damion, you took her to be put to sleep.
Yeah.
And you tell me that she was nervous.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I didn't capture the process on video. I wasn't, but I did recorded her walking in, and she was I would say having a panic attack. I mean, she was panting in a way that I've never heard her pant before. She knew it was up, you know, and
she could feel it was the end.
Yeah, and it was quick too. It was horrible. But I also, you know, read on social media or something that dogs, you know, when you buy a puppy, you know, that puppy only knows you. That puppy only knows you, and be with that dog as much as you possibly can from the beginning to the end. And as long as you're there with him till the last breath, then, you know, you served your purpose, you know. And that's how I kind of swallowed the fact that, you know, she lived a good life, and she knew it was her time to go. And it was unfortunate, but we had her for 9 years, and she grew up the kids, and she was, you know, I feel like the first animal that the girls fell in love with. You know, they created a relationship with Kizzy that kind of carried on to, you know, Bishop and Jada and Lyric.
Yeah, it definitely led to us being even better pet owners with them. But what's interesting about our dog choice is that with the Dobermans, with Kizzy, it was cool. Nobody discriminates against boxers, not like that.
No.
And Kizzy was a smaller dog, so we didn't have like a lot of issues with people having her being misrepresented in any way that people were just afraid of her. But by choosing Dobermans, we find ourselves constantly having to defend them against people who don't understand them, which is directly parallel with our lives and I feel how we've had to explain and defend ourselves, and people having misconceptions about us.
Some acquaintances of ours was telling us this last summer that they were going to take over a dog from a friend of theirs that was known to bust through closet doors, eating walls, had alopecia or something like that, some type of skin disease where it just kind of was looking like the dog beautiful looking dog, but it just sounded like the dog was crazy. And in the same breath, when they found out we had Dobermans, they were like, "Oh, don't they turn on you? Like, you got to take over a 3-year-old pit bull that you have no idea what you're about to get into."
Exactly. It's like glass houses. Don't throw stones in glass houses.
Yeah.
But we took them on, and it's just another layer of explaining, or another situation where we just kind of have to prove, and not, I guess we don't have to. I'm sure people are thinking, you don't have to do that. Who cares what people think? But it does matter what people think when they're coming into your home, they're around your dog, you run into people on the street, your neighbors, things like that. So it's you essentially have to campaign for them. In what ways in your life do you feel you were misunderstood and misrepresented that you had to campaign for yourself?
All the time. I walk around with a chip on my shoulder every day. That's something I grew up with. So, yeah. I don't even know where to start. I don't even know how to answer that question. We could be here for 3 hours. But just growing up, being around a lot of Caucasian people, and just the stereotypes the ignorant stereotypes that I had to deal with about, Black people and who we are and how we move and stuff like that. Every day. I was telling my one of my daughters the other day that they were like something about, I can't remember what it was, and I was like, I'm gonna walk around with a chip on my shoulder for the rest of my life. There's nothing I can do about that. I'm always trying to feel like I always have to prove myself, and it's unfortunate, but it's just a product of your environment. You come up being a certain way because you were raised around a certain environment, and it ends up making you who you are. You make changes throughout your life. You better yourself in certain ways, but there's also stuff that you need to accept about who you are as a person. And yeah, that's something that regardless, I don't have to outwardly show it, but there's certain things that, will always bother me just because I had that chip on my shoulder. It also allows me to very competitive by nature, because of that. So, but I wouldn't change who I am for nobody.
I get it. Yeah. For me, more specifically, it feels like you don't want to go deep into that right now. But for me, I was pregnant at 15, had my first child at 16. She's 25 years old now. And from conception, there was a perception of me. And I understand as an adult, like as a grown woman now, how that looks, a young girl, fast or stupid or whatever people thought. There weren't a lot of people who believed that I would be successful and that I would do well. And I kind of found myself in this gray area because like people would look at me like I made a bad decision, like I was a hood person, if that makes sense. But obviously I'm not hood either. So the hood people are looking at me like, so I just kind of was like just floating in this middle space where people didn't understand me, didn't have respect for me, didn't believe in me. And it led me to be, as you were saying, a very competitive person. It was really important for me to be successful because there was so much doubt and there was so much resistance, just similar to how they say a diamond needs pressure. And, you know, to become a diamond, it starts off as coal or something like that, and then it turns into a diamond. It's kind of cliche, but that truly was the case in my life. And it wasn't until I had that experience of being treated so poorly as a young mother by other people, other parents. I was just trying to raise my child, put her in daycare, preschool, and take her to the birthday parties and just doing my best. And there were so many older women who would purposely just go out of their way to be rude to me, to be mean to me. And all I was trying to do was raise my daughter and be as good of a mother as possible. But that led me to work with young mothers. That was one of my first jobs as a social worker. So I have a background, and I was a psychotherapist, which is a social worker. But I spent most of my career supporting misunderstood young people because I had that experience. I just can't imagine being disrespectful or cruel to a person who's already feeling out of place. I'm at a birthday party with everybody, all the women, all the parents are in their 30s, and I'm 19. I'm already out of place, and they're like ganging up on me, laughing. How old are you? I've walked 2-3 miles with my child to get her to this birthday party, and I just want her to have a good time, and I want to have a good time, and they were treating me poorly. And it just made me a more compassionate person, a more empathetic person, a person who would never do anything like that. But it's like sometimes those situations. Hey, what's up? Hey, stop it.
Come here. Come here, Mama. Come here.
Sometimes it takes going through those difficulties to become who you're supposed to be. So now I look back on it, and it's not funny to me, but it's ironic because I'm a happy person. I'm an attractive person who has kept herself in shape. I'm a happily married person. My children are generally successful. The child that I had at a young age graduated from UGA, then graduated from Harvard. Things worked out. Things went well, but I don't think that without that resistance, I would be as successful as I am today. As well-read, as knowledgeable, as strong as I am today, if it weren't for that misconception that people had about me that I had to kind of fight my way through. And they say, don't judge a book by its cover. And I feel like I'm a living example of that. And just from my past and the way that my life turned out, I know, so now when I meet people, I don't ever assume that anybody is beneath me, because you just don't know who they can become or who they will be. So I feel like it's totally appropriate that we have these dogs.
Yeah, it makes sense. That
are misunderstood, but we love them and care for them, and we see the good in them and not the negative that's usually marketed about the breed.